All right, what I'm going to show you today is a tool that I created to help with tracking benchmark data and then to use that data to help try to understand exactly where some of my students are on, getting ready for their EOGs. Sorry for the amusing titles of characters. I really just had to come up with some names and put some data in to help you see. That's why all of my students are Marvel characters. So what you see in front of you right now is kind of the home screen where you would do all of your data entry. You would, of course, start with your student names. I divided this into a reading and a math tab. You could duplicate this tab if you needed to, if you had a science EOG, and I can show you, and I will show you how to do that here in a minute. One of the things that I would always do is make sure that once you make a list of your students' names, copy and paste your student names into the other column, into other screen, because that's going to make it just easier when we get to some of the other features that I've built into this. Once you have this, then you have the option to put a homeroom if you have a homeroom, or to assign them to a group. You can name the group, or you can just number it like I did here. I made up an EOG score for them. This would typically be their last year's EOG, so we can see kind of where they're at on pace moving into next year. And then all this is where you enter their benchmark data, and then it will automatically average that number for you. The nice thing about this spreadsheet, though, is if you look at the bold numbers on the top here that I just highlighted, those numbers are changeable. And so I'm actually going to, in this presentation, I'm going to embed a copy of a PDF that I found. This is from Alamance Burlington School System, but you can find this by Googling raw score conversions for EOGs. And the one that I've been using, and again, this is a little bit dated, so you may want to look and try to find something more current. You'll notice that it has all of these grade levels, and then it has the approximate percentile score for the various levels. So if you go back to your sheet and you realize, well, this isn't really the numbers for my grade, I need to change them, it will automatically, if you notice when I changed 48, just say this to 40, it automatically updates all of this column, okay? And that's just one way to keep track of kind of your student results. And so what this does then is you have needed for a 2. And if it is blacked out, that means that student is scoring right now, their average is above what you would need for a 2. And so on for a 3 and a 4 and a 5. You'll notice there are 4 colors. Green is there within 10 points. Yellow is within 10 to 15 points. I think red is 16 to about 20. And then anything over 20 is your blue. And this color coordination is to help you see, oh, this student is 25 points away, for example, Dr. Strange, from needing for a 3. Well, he may not get there. He may just be going for growth. But when you look at it, he has a 450. That would be a concern, especially for a 6th grader like I'm working with, because they're only 1 point away from that proficiency. So you'd want to see that a little higher. Looking at your benchmarks across like this also allows you to see, okay, do I think that this student just blew off this test? Again, using the example of Black Widow, her scores are a 60 and a 65, but she has this 30 here. That might indicate that, well, maybe benchmark 2 is an outlier. But I always like to see that because I think it's important to understand that those outliers could also be their results on the test. You'll notice if you flip over to the math page, it's exactly the same setup. Again, what you would have to do is to change the numbers in bold based on your actual score needs. If you decided that you wanted to do this as well for science, you could just go down to math, hit control, and then that would give you the option to duplicate the tab. So there's 3 other things I want to show you that I've kind of done with this. One is called an individual report. This is really good once you start collecting this data. and you realize, okay, I want to talk to the student's parent, or even if you're doing conferences with the student, you can pull up just their name. So that's why I said it's important to put their name the same in both places. And you just type their name in, and then it'll pull up their name, what group they're assigned to currently, their EOG scores from last year, all their benchmark data, and then where they are in relation to where they need to be. Again, this is kind of fictitious data that I've made up, but you can see this student is set up for a 2 in reading, but is potentially 3 points away from a 2 in math. The other thing that you can do, and you have both this for reading and math, I'm not going to show you both, is you can pull your individual groups. This is really helpful, like if you're doing a remediation session and you want to look at, okay, what's the data for the kids that I'm working with? Okay, most of these kids are close to a 3. Well, this one isn't. So do I take that outlier out and say she probably is? Or do I say, oh, I might need to put her in a different remediation group? And again, the math tab works just the same way. You just have to click on the math. So again, just a couple reminders. As if you decide you were going to use this, you've gotten a view-only copy of it, so you want to share and make your own copy. Name it your grade, whatever year, and then you want to make sure you put your data in. Once you put data in, you really only want to be touching information in the columns I just highlighted, A through G, on both the reading and the math. Because if you start messing over with the H to the L or on the other reports, you run the risk of making those unoperable, okay, if you change the wrong thing. So yeah, this is a tool I created to help track data and to help monitor things.